And we are always going to slip off again because we are concerned with the results in the world. And they cannot always be good. There's always somebody that is going to say, no, no, you don't know anything. Or somebody who won't like us. Or something that doesn't go right. But once one has left all that behind and has seen the world for what it is, a very nice show in which one can enjoy the whole theater as it keeps going, then everything is peaceful and harmonious. And so that's what I teach. And not with an achievement syndrome. Knowing the way, knowing the goal, but enjoying each step on the way and being contented with each step, because only that means that we enjoy the journey. The question about nuns and money, or yes, the monastic life and money. Well, in our tradition, it says that we are not to accept silver or gold. In other words, we're not supposed to sell anything. But that has been construed to mean that we're not supposed to have any money or carry any money. Well, in the beginning of my nun's life, I thought, well, that is what it means, and I adhered to it. So whenever I needed to go anywhere or do anything, I had to take somebody along to carry the money for me and pay for me. And the person who did that, especially in Australia, one day said, well, isn't it pretty silly that I have to hand out this money, which you could just as well hand out yourself? It's the same money, isn't it? And I thought she was quite right. And then I asked my teacher in Sri Lanka, the Venerable Jnanarama, who has been extremely helpful to me about this matter. And he said, look, if you travel around the world, you're going to need money. So why don't you take traveler's checks with you and use them as you need them? And I thought, well, that sounds reasonable. And I asked my preceptor, who was Venerable Narada, also in Sri Lanka, and he said the same thing. And I thought, well, that sounds reasonable, I'll do that. And then I became ordained as a bhikkhuni in Silai Temple in Los Angeles in 1987. And of course this question came up again. And we asked the master there, all the Western nuns asked the master there, and he said the same thing. He said, in this day and age, you cannot run around the West and without money. In fact, you could be picked up for vagrancy, and which in my case probably wouldn't happen because of my gray hair, but still. And so that's what I do. And it makes life easy. And the other fact is that sometimes women might be afraid to become a nun because they don't see that there's any means of support for them here in the West. I haven't had any problem because of the fact that I'm teaching. And as I teach, people are very willing to give donations and look after me much better than anybody's ever looked after me, because they want to get the teaching again so that I, keep going. So I have had no problem whatsoever. In every country where I've been, people have gone out of their way to be supportive and helpful. So I'm sure that those nuns who do not teach in the West would have more difficulty, but I can't speak about that because I haven't had it. Now in the East, in a Buddhist country, I mean, there's absolutely no question at all. I mean, you just support it automatically. But I have the same moon here in the West also. Well, most women whom I know who wanted to become a nun and were owning a house sold that, and probably, I don't really know, but probably put the money somewhere where it was earning interest so that they had a bit of income that way. I really don't know. I'm not sure that this is absolutely essential, that you'd have to sell it. The thing with it would be that you might be able to use it as a meditation center where you can, invite people to come. Since you've got to live somewhere, and monasticism is not established here for Buddhist nuns in the West at this point, such a house might be a great boon, might be the start of a nunnery, who knows? So I would suggest that it's would be even better to keep it. I didn't have any problem like that. I mean, I don't own anything. So it's no difficulty for me in that way. My name.
Your name.
Yes. Khema was the name given to me at my ordination in Sri Lanka. The monk who ordained me was Venerable Narada, and he asked me whether I would like to be called Khema or Dhammadina. And it made no difference to me, except that I thought the Westerners would be able to pronounce and spell Khema much easier than Dhammadina. It's much shorter, so I picked Khema. Afterwards, I found out that Khema was a very famous nun in the Buddha's time. She was used to be a queen before she became a nun. She was said to have been very beautiful, and when she became a nun, she was also said to have been very wise. In fact, the Buddha said that she was the wisest of the nuns, and she became enlightened. So that was a nice addition to having picked that name. It also means security, literally translated, and it is one of the synonyms for Nibbana. And Ayya is the address that the nuns were giving to each other in the Buddha's time, and all Theravada nuns could rightfully be called Ayya. It's not a name, it's just the equivalent to Bhante, which is for the monk. So, and if there are several Ayyas about, you might have to use their name, but otherwise Ayya would be enough. I would like to say this about meditation. In the West, people really come to Buddhism because they're interested in meditation, generally speaking. There are some who came to it because they were interested in the philosophy. But I would say that the greater majority come because of meditation. And that's fine. Actually, the Buddha said it doesn't matter how you come, just as long as you come. But I would like to add to this that meditation is only one part of the Buddhist path, one part of the training. If you look at the Noble Eightfold Path, we have three parts, Sila, Samadhi and Panya, which is the moral conduct, the concentration and the wisdom. Now the moral conduct is always the base, the foundation on which we build. And the concentration, the samadhi, is then our means of gaining insight. So what we need to look at when we look at the Buddhist path is that it is a mosaic of many different pieces which together form a most beautiful picture. And that it is not the best way if we just pick out one of those pieces and say, this one is the one I want. Because meditation needs a support system. The underlying foundation of dana, sila, metta, which is generosity, moral conduct, and loving kindness. And these are the three feet, so to say, on which meditation can rest. And if it does, it has a great chance of success. If it stands on its own, it doesn't have the embedding in a tradition. It needs to be embedded in something where it can feel at home. Otherwise, meditation is a strange thing to do in a Western materialistic society. So we need to direct heart and mind towards the spirituality which is possible when we meditate, and which the Buddha pointed out in so many different ways. So if we pick out that piece as our starting point, we need to look at all the other pieces to get the whole beauty of it.